The governor of Ohio is doing a great job. He called that off, and we'll see what happens. There's a court case, and it hasn't been fully determined yet. But if he called it off, I could understand that because, you know, he's definitely somebody that knows what he's doing. We'll be seeing what very soon.
All right, that's from the president of the United States. A number of Democratic leaders saying the same thing about the governor. You're looking live at empty polling locations in Ohio after Governor Mike DeWine postponed the state's presidential primary today. The Ohio Supreme Court backing the governor's decision. The Ohio Republican governor joins us right now. Governor DeWine, good to have you. Thank you for coming.
Happy St. Patrick's Day.
To you as well, sir. Let me get your, if you can, because some people say, did you have to do this? And Republicans and Democrats seem to be backing your move. Why did you put it off?
We didn't want to put Ohioans at risk. We have 35,000 poll workers that it takes to put on an election. As I'm sure our viewers have experienced, they're wonderful people. Some have been doing this for a long, long time, some for decades. So some are older, more at risk individuals. So this is a disease, or this is a virus that sometimes people can't tell they have it, and so they can be a spreader without even knowing that. So having our poll workers work for 13 straight hours there just made no sense. It's also a risk to all those people who are voting. The CDC came up with the regulations the day before yesterday, said no more than 50 people in a room. We couldn't even, we certainly could not conduct an election that way. And finally, we didn't want to really challenge our voters, particularly our voters who have a medical problem or our voters who are over 65, to choose between exercising their constitutional right and their health. That just doesn't make sense. And we can do it. We can have absentee balloting go on for an extended period of time. Everybody will have the opportunity to vote that wants to, and that's really what we should do.
You know, Governor, I'm just wondering then about the other states scheduling primaries today, Arizona and Florida and Illinois. Are they making a mistake?
Look, I wouldn't say that. I mean, every governor does what he or she thinks is best for their state. Governors are right there. They have to make that call. I would not criticize that call. But I made this call because it was clear that this would put in jeopardy the safety of Ohioans. And look, what we've learned from this, from the models that have been done and all the experts, and every decision we've made has been based upon medical science. What we've learned is if you don't intervene early in this, you're going to end up like Italy is today. And that's just very, very tragic. We had a whole meeting today, discussion about our hospitals getting ready for this. And, we're going to run out of equipment. We're going to run out of personal protection gear for the doctors unless we slow this down. And it can't be this curve that goes straight up like they have had in Italy. We've got to sort of, shut it down a little bit, spread it out. Or we're going to be in the same position Italy is, and we don't want to be there. You
don't, sort of lighten this entire virus situation. The Washington Post said of you today, sir, that your announcement of this was typical of your no-nonsense, high-fact way in which you've delivered a daily dose of bad news, saying of you that you frequently cite the advice of public health professionals, that he doesn't, referring to you. Mentioned politics, shows his concern about the impact of his choices, which he's acknowledged could be devastating for the economy. He sugarcoats nothing. Now, I'm sure political advisors have told you, Governor, when you're talking about some of these tough measures, and you've been talking about long when they became fashionable or at least common, you took a lot of political heat for that, but you didn't seem to care.
Well, I think Ohioans really needed to understand the truth, and if I'm going to have any credibility, I need to be, honest with them. I've got a great director of health, Dr. Amy Acton, who has really kind of led me through this. We have consulted with experts, not just in Ohio, but all over the country. And what we've learned is you got to move early. There's a classic case that I've cited that I've read about in 1918 between St. Louis and Philadelphia. Philadelphia was only 2 weeks behind. St. Louis and what they did, and yet the death rate in Philadelphia was dramatically higher than it was in St. Louis. So we want to be St. Louis and not Philadelphia.
Right? Philadelphia took no such precautions. St. Louis
didn't.
did. Yeah.
Well, eventually they did.
But
they had the St. Patrick's Day parade and they went on. It was too late. 2 weeks later was too late. So this stuff multiplies, and you know the number. I'm told by the experts that the number of people in Ohio and across the country who actually have been infected, that number will double every 6 days. So just whatever the number is today, it doubles over every 6 days. And that's just crazy. So we've got to slow it down as much as we can.
So let me ask you about that, because the flip side of a number that could grow exponentially, Governor, is that the denominator changes things, and the number of fatalities, I hate to sound like this, is lower than we thought. And that some people look at that and say, well, you know, it's better stepping back from it and seeing that your chances of dying are much lower now. What do you tell them?
Well, you know, we have an obligation to move quickly, and we know if we don't move quickly, we're going to see more people die. That's been the evidence in Italy. That's been the evidence throughout history. We have experts, modelers who look at that. And look, this may mean that we're in this longer, for a longer period of time, but we're going to lose fewer people. And we're not going to. The other major problem that people don't really talk about or look at is what happens when our hospitals are overwhelmed, if they are, and we haven't slowed this thing down, and you have a heart attack, or you need cancer surgery, or you need something else. You know, those people are going to be impacted adversely as well, and we worry about them as well as the people who contract, you know, this virus.
The president seemed to indicate this could be a July or August event before, you know, this hits its ceiling or is resolved. There's no way of knowing, of course. The president said as much. New York Governor Cuomo has indicated 45 days, he hopes, before the worst of it in New York. But he and the mayor of New York City, Governor, are differing over whether they have lockdown-type measures in New York City. How do you feel about going to that next level, where not only are you sort of hibernating in your home, so to speak, but it extends to not even leaving your home, period?
Well, we're not there yet in Ohio. We could get there. We're not there. But what we're doing, and I'm going to do it again right now, all Ohioans who are watching this, if you can stay home, stay home. If you can not work in your business, but you can work from home, please do that. For anybody who's 65 years of age or older, do not have contact with very many people. Just try to confine that to a very, very small number of people, because the death rate goes up dramatically as people get older. So it's not just what orders I make or my health director makes. You know, what's really important is how everyone takes care of themselves, because when you take care of yourself, you're taking care of your family, but you're also taking care of absolutely total strangers. Be very, very careful. Keep that social distance away. We have to go about our lives, but we have to, if we can, we need to hunker down. I mean, I know people who literally are in their home now, and they're doing everything they can. They'll go out maybe to get groceries, but they're doing everything they can not to expose themselves to other people. And that's the way to get through this.
I think you're right. Governor, you're very, very clear, very sober about it. No nonsense. You don't sugarcoat it. You don't overly make a crisis of it. It's a rare quality in a Democrat or a Republican or anyone. Best of luck, Governor. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. Good to be with you.